Okay, let's take a look at this puzzle. We are white. It's white to play. As you can see, this is actually like you see from the title. This is tacted by Karpov, Anatoly Karpov, the previous world champion, one of the greatest players ever, one of the greatest strategies ever. Some of the best games ever played is by Karpov against Kasparov and so on. So this is a fairly simple tactic, but still it's worth analyzing. And if we look at the most important elements we see here, we can see that there's some standoff between the queens, the white king and the black king, the e6 and e7. It seems that the black king is fairly well protected. The white king is very well protected. So let's take a look at the checks, captures, and threats. And I think the first check that comes to mind, I mean, some people probably will think about capturing the rook, but then it doesn't take you anywhere, right? But I think the most obvious check to look at is with the bishop on h7 checking the king. Now, what happens in that case, right? Is it something definitely worth examining? Which brings me back to actually another important element that you always need to take a look at. That unprotected pieces, right? Or semi-protected. There are who's protecting what pieces can maybe we can capture with some tactics. We see that, for instance, this rook, I'm just looking at this rook on at b5, is totally unprotected, but I don't see a way for us to take advantage of this at the moment. This rook is protected by the king, the queen is protected by the pawns, and also this white knight is actually protected by the white queen through an x-ray. So the black queen cannot capture the bishop on e4 because then it'll be captured back by the queen. So we don't see any possible captures which are worthwhile. I mean, we can capture this farm, but it's very well protected. So if we take a look at the check here again, we will see that it forces the king to move, either capture the bishop or move to h8. And the only protector of the rook here is the king. So many times, experienced chess players, they look at the pieces, even though they're protected, some of them are not protected very well. And we can take advantage of it, though there maybe is a standing protective. So maybe some of the pieces that are protecting those pieces are either overloaded or they're protecting other pieces, or if we check them, they might move. So that's important elements that you should take a look and have a trigger in your mind that tells you, hey, maybe I should check a possible tactic of deflecting the king from protecting the rook, and that might even be a mate or something like that. So in this case, Karpov did check the king. Let's say they capture the bishop and now we capture the rook, and that gives obviously a very strong advantage for white, and I think black resigned after this move. So a great tactic by Karpov. I know it's not a very difficult one, but I think it's still worth analyzing and learning from.